What's up, y'all? This your girl, Coach NaQuandra from The Purpose Place. Welcome to another episode of this wonderful podcast. I hope that you are feeling good, lovely, and blessed because you are in the name of Jesus. So today I got some tea for y'all. I got some tea because, I am a YouTube junkie. Like, I be working and listening to YouTube at the same time. At the same dang time. So I got some tea for y'all. But we're going to talk about leadership today because leadership is vital. Having good leadership skills is vital. And you need to know something right quick. You need to know that being a good leader is a learned skill. Now, some of us have leadership qualities embedded in us already, which typically come out as children as being a little bossy or like controlling, demanding. Those are qualities that you can notice in a child to know if they are going to potentially be a leader. And it's super important that parents, you pay attention to the things that your children are exhibiting so that you can begin to mold those to work out for the best. Like in one of my students, when I used to teach, there was one student and she had a lot of leadership qualities. And so I told her mama was like, you need to, pull into this because so-and-so is a leader. Sis is a leader. So make sure when she go to kindergarten that you put her in some stuff that is going to help nurture that. From personal experience, I have always been a leader. But back in the day, I was kind of more like bossy with it. So in elementary school, we would have this talent show. And me and my friends, we like to sing and dance. Back in the 90s, the Cheetah Girls was popping. And so we would have our own girl group. We would be out on the playground singing songs, making up songs, dancing. I had this one friend, she could sing real good. But we would be singing and dancing and doing our thing out on the playground. And so we were going to be in the talent show at the end of the year. And now they had this talent show every year. And matter of fact, my brother was in the talent show. This is just a fun fact. If he's ever on the podcast, you guys will get to meet him. But he did the talent show and he did a Usher song. I don't even know what the song was, but all the girlies were screaming. All the girlies were screaming because, he dark skinned, he was handsome or whatever. And the girlies was screaming for my brother in elementary school. He was in 5th grade. He's always been like 2 grades um up than me. So he was in 5th grade. But yeah, so I wanted to be in the talent show with my girls and it didn't work out because I was too bossy and nobody wanted to go to practice anymore. Like we would practice on a playground and I would be like, all right, I'm trying to get everybody to practice, but everybody want to talk, they want to play, they want to laugh. This is the typical TV scene, like on a teenage movie. Like somebody's always being too bossy, and then everybody breaks up, and then they later on make up just like the Cheetah Girls. Looks like Raven was with the Cheetah Girls. So imagine that, except for elementary version. I was Raven, trying to get everybody together for practice, but doing a little bit too much, not really considering, hey, we're kids. We just want to play on the playground. I was serious. I was like, no, we finna practice. And so, yeah, they all like, split up because I was a little bit too bossy. So that's a cute story for today. But anyway, I really want to talk about leadership. And we got a great example in the Bible, Ruben, of how not to be a leader. So Ruben is the oldest of Jacob's sons, the tribes of Israel. Jacob, who was named Israel. So Reuben was the oldest. And so we know Joseph, little Joseph, who was having dreams, and all his brothers hated him because he was their dad's favorite. Their dad made him a robe and he was showing off his robe. I got my robe. It's cute. It's nice, like any of us would if we had a nice little jacket or whatever. But Joseph started to have dreams. And in his dreams, God was showing him that his family would be submitted to him at one point in life, that he was going to be the head honcho of the family at one point in life. And so he was sharing his dreams with his brothers and his parents, and they hated him even the more. They're like, so we finna bow down to you? Like, what do you mean? And Joseph's probably like, I don't know. I'm just telling you my dream. This is the type of dream I have, right? And so his brothers hated him ever the more. So one day his brothers are out working, and his dad tells Joseph, go see about your brothers. And so Joseph goes to see about his brothers. His brothers see Joseph coming, and they begin to plot a way to get rid of him. And so Ruben, being the oldest, he's like, just throw him in the pit. Don't shed no blood, don't kill him, just throw him in the pit. Yada yada yada. So that's what they do. They throw Joseph into the pit. Few moments later, they take him out the pit, the brothers, and they sell him to some people. Now, Ruben, the oldest brother, he didn't know. I guess he must have walked away or something. He didn't know that the other brothers, had took Joseph out of the pit and gave him away to be sold. Says Ruben had intentions. The Bible says that Ruben had intentions to go back to the pit and get Joseph out of the pit. But but the brothers went and got him out the pit and sold him before Ruben could go back and do that. So Ruben, when he realizes that his brothers had did this, he was upset. When Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. So anytime you see in the Bible people tearing their clothes, that is an expression of grief, of mourning. So he said he tore his clothes and he went back to his brothers and said, the boy is gone. What am I going to do? So there was a season where the Lord had me reading this chapter over and over and over and over again. And when I read that part, I realized that Ruben was seen to be the only one concerned about the responsibility of having to explain what the heck happened to Joseph. And so I realized, I was like, but wait a minute. Of course he was, because he was the oldest. Now, when your parents used to go out the house and they would leave you and your siblings in the house, usually the oldest one was in charge. The oldest one had the responsibility for all the little ones. So if anything happened to the little ones while the parents was gone, the parent won't come in to the little one who did what they weren't supposed to do. They was coming to you and asking you, why did you let so and so do this, and that when I told y'all this, and that? Same thing happens in the Old Testament days. The oldest son was considered the opener of the womb. The oldest son had responsibility over the household when the dad was not present. The oldest son, the firstborn son, was going to be the heir of the throne if they were in the household of a king, born to a king or whatever. Like, the oldest had great responsibility. The oldest was a leader. And what we see from Ruben is that Ruben, in some way, shape, or form, had the fear of man. Like, he was going along with what his brothers wanted him to do, but internally he was conflicted because he knew it wasn't right, and he knew that it was gonna fall on his head. He said, the boy is gone, what am I gonna do? The rest of them weren't concerned about what the heck was gonna happen to Reuben and explain to Joseph and explaining to their daddy Jacob this and that. That was Reuben's responsibility, being the oldest son. And so we see that he had a complex
a problem with people pleasing, a problem with the fear of man, going along with the plans that his brothers had, when internally he knew that that wasn't right. He wanted to follow along with what people was doing and what people thought was cool in the moment. And when I tell you, as business owners, ministry leaders, we cannot do that. If we're going to be led by way of the Lord, we got to do it the way He tells us to do it. We have to do it with integrity, doing the right thing even when nobody is watching, doing the right thing even when nobody else agrees, doing the right thing even when it doesn't make sense. I got to do it the right day. Ruben had a conflict in his role of leadership. We can see in this part of the Bible. So we're in this moment learning what not to do, what not to do, because we need to know as leaders in the marketplace, God is not elevating copycats. Like he's not elevating mockers. He's not elevating knockoffs, right? When he wants you to do something, do it the way he told you to do it. Do it the way he's crafted and designed you to do it. You can't do it like them. You can't do it following along with the crowd. You can't do it compromising your faith and your beliefs to get likes and subscribes and tweets and threads and all that. You can't do it like that. You have to do it how he wants you to do it, or you're going to end up with consequences like Ruben had to go home and explain to his father. They took Joseph's robe, slaughtered a male goat, and dipped the robe in its blood. They sent the long sleeve robe to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it. Is it your son's robe or not?"
Please hold for an ad from our sponsors. Just land is me. If you haven't joined Women Like Ministry of Restoration, you need to use the link in the description to get in the room. This is a ministry for community, conversations, and accountability as we are growing and thriving in the
Like
things of God.
following
Bye.
along, following behind what the Joneses were doing, what have you, making up lies and telling stories just so that you can fit the narrative, the false narrative that you went along with because of your internal compromise. Don't do that. So it says his father recognized it. "It is my son's robe," he said. A vicious animal has devoured him. Joseph has been torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put sackcloth around his waist, and he mourned for his son for many days. All his sons and daughters tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will go down to Sheol to my son mourning." And his father wept for him. The consequences. So they had to go along with this story. Reuben had to go along with this story because he wanted to follow when what his brothers was doing, being the oldest. Okay, so again, God is not elevating knockoffs and copycats. So as we translate that over to us as leaders in business, leaders in ministry, we can't follow along what people are doing. So I'm a YouTube junkie at times, seasons in my life, and I was watching this episode today. It's called Pink Lessons or something. The YouTube is called, but the story is about this lady who got very successful very quickly by teaching credit repair classes, by repairing people's credit for them, selling products and all this type of stuff. Like they were saying how she would make millions of dollars in a matter of 45 minutes, millions of dollars in a matter of 8 minutes. Like she was busting money down with her business. Whole time she was lying. Whole time it was a facade, man, like crazy. So she had people who started to come out and say, "Hey, you said that this and this was going to be taken off of my credit, but it's not. It's still there." Multiple people were saying this. And so as people are coming and talking out about it, she is now being exposed. And what really put it on front face is a TikToker started talking about her experience because she was a client. Same thing. Sis said that some things were going to be removed from her credit. Things were not removed. So she starts telling her experience on TikTok. Tell me why the credit repair lady put a hit out for the TikToker. Like, really hired somebody to unalive her, to the point where the FBI is beating on this girl's door trying to let her know, hey, so and so really is got somebody out for you, and you need to be mindful of where you're going, and we're going to be watching you, and so on and so forth. Like, it was that deep. It was that deep, man. And I'm like, wow. So it come to find out she was paying people to give their testimonies about her services. She was forging screenshots of sales coming in. They said her first $1 million was not her first $1 million from business. It was the first $1 million from a lawsuit that she won. And so she's forging all this stuff to make it doctor it up, to make it look like she's successful in business, creating storylines that aren't even real to make some money, right? Like, she's feeding in to what people would run to, or what people resonate with, so that she can get their money, and not really providing the services. That is not good leadership. That is not integral leadership. My friend Whitney, she's been on the pod before.
Speaking of Whitney, attention moms, are you searching for a vibrant community to connect, share, and flourish together? Discover the Mommy Franchise, spelled with a PH, a place where parenting, self care, and faith are deeply explored. Visit www.themommyfranchise for
Just
more
with
information.
she sent us something on TikTok where people are literally forging their Shopify screenshots of their sales coming in. Like, you can Google like, I don't even know what you would Google. I guess like fake Shopify screenshots, or mock-up sales reports, like mock-up. Like, people are doctoring these things because, we want to see results as humans. Like, we want to see results. We want to see that you are successful already in what it is that you're teaching me before I spend my money with you in your business. And so we're at a season in life, we're at a time in life where people are faking these things. People are making their own sales reports. People are taking screenshots and editing them and looking and making it look like they got money coming in. People are paying people to testify about a service that they never had. Just like these false prophets are paying people to come up to the pulpit and testify about something that God did that ain't really happened. Like, oh my goodness. Isn't it crazy? And then I'm listening to this other episode, same YouTube channel, a girl with, I don't think it said her name. It had her picture and everything. It probably did say her name. I just don't remember. But she had many Airbnbs, 50 Airbnbs, 8 different businesses, going on news channels, getting recognized for this, and that, for being a business mogul. And then it comes out that she's scamming people too. I'm like, how do these people even make it this far? How do they, like, how are you even making it this far to where you're making millions scamming people? The Bible does say that my people perish for lack of knowledge, though. It does say that. But I'm like, my mind is just like, what? So she supposedly had over 50 Airbnbs. None of them she owned. She didn't own none of the Airbnbs. She was renting them. And so the people who were staying in them was paying the rent for the apartments and the houses, and she would pay the actual owners back with that money. Then got to a point where she couldn't pay them no more. So now she getting lawsuits from the people that she's renting their homes from and calling it her Airbnbs. You know what? And that's crazy, because that's a whole thing in itself. Like, oh, let me teach you how to get your own Airbnb with no money down or whatever. That's probably what they teaching you. Yeah, just go and rent this place and use the money that you're getting from the people who's signing up for your Airbnb to pay them back. You ain't even got to buy the house. You ain't even got to buy the condo. Just rent it and resell it. Like, that's crazy. Did we just figure out the whole scheme? Like, that's crazy. So with her, she had this one guy who so people were investing in her Airbnbs, like expecting to get some type of return. They didn't get no money. People started doing chargebacks on her business, because she was doing credit repair too, saying that things were going to be removed. They weren't going to be removed, saying that they were getting some money from this, from doing their investment. Not get, like, I'm just like, how, like, we're learning what not to do here. We're learning what not to do here with Ruben, with these two ladies, because in this time of exposure, we really need to make sure that we're right. We really need to make sure that we're right before the Lord, that we're living in righteousness, that we're living in integrity, because it is being exposed. Now, these two stories, I believe, are like a year old. Um So yeah, that's how the story ended, with the girl with the 50 Airbnbs and the 8 different businesses. She getting sued, and people are calling her out now. And it seems to be a lack of integrity. And I'm sharing these stories with you so that you can see the perspective, you can see the reality, and also understand the consequences. Like, God is not elevating knockoff. I'm gonna say it again till you get it ingrained in your brain, so the next time you want to copycat somebody, you hear that in your head. God is not elevating knockoffs. He is not elevating counterfeits. I had a client come to me through Fiverr asking for me to redesign a journal, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, we could do it. It was a basic journal. I said, okay, send it over to me. I'll look over it and give you a price quote. She sent me a journal that was already, it was done. The colors were there, the prompts was there. It was laid out, organized, all that. It was done already. And she was like, yeah, I just need you to change the colors on it. And I think maybe like put her branding and information on it. And I'm like, you want me to do what? Like, what are you coming to me for, to change colors on a journal that's already done? You could do that yourself. So I'm like, what? So she's like, yeah, I went to a class and they taught us how to make journals. And I think she said something along the line that, like, she couldn't figure it out or something. So she was just like, I'm just going to pay somebody to do it for me, how to change the colors. And she was like, yeah. I was like, well, you need to send me the prompts that you want in the journal that's for your brand. Now, this is supposed to be like a Valentine's Day, like Galentine's Day journal or something. And I was like, yeah, well, you need to send me the prompts that you want there, because I'm under the assumption that this is just a template and that she was going to change the wording and all of that in the book. Child, no. She was like, no, all that's going to stay the same. They said we can sell it just as it is. We just need to change the colors and, make it, put it on brand or whatever. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. I am not about to help you sell somebody else's work. Like, y'all finna have however many people was in that class. Y'all finna have 300 of the same journals out with just different colors. Mind you, there's billions of people in the world. So it's not very likely that you're going to run across. But I'm like, that's not integral. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And I'm like, I can't believe that people are really teaching you to do that, like to use somebody else's work and sell it as your own. Like, are you in business like you I mean, you can tell. I guess you can tell the people who are in business just to make money, and people who are in business because they love what they do and they love what they been assigned and called to do. Like, you can definitely tell the difference from people who are like money driven, like these girls that I just talked about with the credit and the Airbnbs. Those who are just money driven, who will literally do anything. Can we talk about B Simone? Now, I'm not talking about her character, but like what she did with that workbook that she put out. She literally took somebody else's workbook and redecorated it and called it her own and got called out for it. Like, we got to be careful. We got to be careful that we're not following along with the crowd and just trying to keep up with what everybody else is doing, but that we truly submit to the journey and the process that God has us on as we're developing our own businesses, because it will get called out. The light shines on all places and exposes what was in the dark. So please, 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 as you are producing and building things, do it with integrity. Do not follow along with the crowd. Like, you heard my testimony. It may not make sense. You may be making waist beads one day and then writing journals another day. You may be doing podcasts for a season, and then the next season you're doing one-on-one coaching. You may be in the classroom for a season, and then in the next season you are at a restaurant. I don't know. I'm just saying stuff. Like, whatever it is, do it with integrity and go by the Spirit of the Lord, because you don't want to be caught up in legal mess. I don't want to be caught up in legal mess, okay? Even with these taxes, man, I hate tax season right now. Why? Because I don't fully understand it. It's like a foreign language to me. It is a foreign language to me. I'm just getting by through the skin on my chinny chin chin with figuring out how to do taxes as an entrepreneur. Crazy. But even that can get you wrapped up if you don't do that right. Your LLC can get you wrapped up. Sales and tax use papers get you wrapped up if you don't do it the right way. Um, that got me in a chokehold for a season. I'm like, I don't even know I got this sales and tax use number. I was only using it for a couple months when I was doing wholesale, buying wholesale and selling clothes. Because with my Charlie Christian Apparel brand, I had started selling like sets, and there's this website, it's called fashiongo.net, where you can go and buy a wholesale, but you have to have a sales tax and use number. And so that's why I got it. And I only sold that type of clothing maybe for a couple months. And then I was stuck with having to file that tax every month, every quarter. And I got behind on it. And I was delinquent a couple times. Like, in that stuff will catch up to you. You don't want to get caught up. You don't want to get caught up. So my word of wisdom for you is to do it God's way. Do it with integrity. Lead with integrity. Lead by example. Lead by example. Because people are watching you, whether they say it or not. They're watching you. Some people are learning from you this very moment. So it's of the utmost importance that you are walking with integrity. I don't care if you turn on your live and there's only 2 people watching you. You better be on that live talking as if there's 3,000 people watching you, right? Show up, and show up well. It's not about the accolades. It's about being in alignment with the assignment that God has called you to. So if there's 0.5 of a person on that live, show up. If you put the course up and nobody signs up, try it again. Tweak it and try it again. But don't compromise your character. Don't compromise your faith to fit in with the crowd and then have to bear negative consequences because you did not hold your position. Hold your position in this season. Be integral as a leader and walk forward in the authority that God has given you. Thanks for listening. Y'all go and be blessed.